Well, good morning. Hey, I've been working on my $30 yard sale special, a 3D printer. I've scrapped it out, may have put a PEI sheet in here, of course, and took the glass out of here. The very first problem I noticed was all the files that were on his disk that were in here were rafted, which means he was having trouble sticking to the bed. And so that was pretty obvious. But since then, I have totally come up with a solution to how to re-support this. This thing was just hanging and flopping around, which on a 3D printer is like a nightmare. It's like, no, you cannot have that. You know, a 3D printer is a very, very precise machine. So made a lot of changes. And right now we are still in the phase of trying to get it to print something decent. But we've come a long way. I want to go over some of the upgrades, but also want to show you some of the things that are like maybe things to look for to why you shouldn't buy this 3D printer. Every time I have worked on this, I have been able to get a slightly better print, but even within the last 24 hours, this was the same product as what you're seeing there right now. This is a product that I designed and I'm running off, but this is using the LK5 longer machine profile to work on this. This is a 300mm bed, so it's like, well, it's the same size bed virtually, so we'll just run with that profile, and that way we sort of help keep us out of trouble. What happened here, I really don't even know at this point. I wasn't here when this went down. This was kind of a reality check that maybe I haven't got everything right just yet, but one of the biggest problems I've still got is I don't have any cooling down here at all. I have no cooling blowing on the part or the PLA or whatever, so not real happy about that. And the only way to get away from that would be to try to either add a fan system in here that is custom made or something, or see if I can find, maybe change the whole extruder. I have looked at the Creality Ender 3 kit for about $29 on Amazon. I'll show that to you right now. What I added in the last 48 hours was a plate back here, has 4 of the wheels on it, and I'll show you a picture of that, and I'll give you a link below where you can find that plate. It's only about $9.50, but it's 4 wheels, so it's got a really good sturdy grab to the 20 by 20 aluminum here, so it's helping to keep all this from, you know, bouncing or shaking around, which is what it was doing. This thing here was just absolutely bouncing. Now, the other thing that happened in this past week was I had well, theoretically I had a jam. I had the PLA got jammed in here, and I took this apart, and inside the idler wheel, which is beside the gear that feeds the, you know, the filament down, the screw that holds it was loose, and I mean dead loose. So that was like, man, how does this even happen? But okay, so we tightened the screw up and thought, well, that'll help too. So the next time we ran a print, it was like, okay, the print's a little better, but we've still got problems and issues. So the final in the last 24 hours was to add this new plate back here to the gantry with the 4 wheels, which supports everything really, really sturdy. It's keeping it now. Granted, the bad side of that was there's 2 problems with that. First, I had to take the chain drive off because there's no place for the chain drive to be at this time, so we might come back to that at another time. Maybe I'll put it back on and try to figure out a way to hook up the chain drive so that it can be on here, but right now it just can't. The biggest problem I ran into was the stop switch here had to be moved in a little bit because the 4-wheel gantry is now hitting back here on this, you know, on the Z axis here on the support to the rod here back here. So it was like, okay, we gotta, you're probably gonna have to come up with a solution on that as to how we're gonna fix that problem. And I'm thinking I might take a grinder and actually cut the plate away a little bit where this 4 wheels are to allow more space to come over further to where it should be, just about where the stock positioning would be for the stop switch on this side. That would be another situation. One of the things too is when you get something like this, yeah, the more you have to take apart and fix, maybe the better, because there were so many things wrong here that I'm kind of getting shocked over it. It says no wonder this guy or girl, whoever it was, gave this thing up for $30, because there was no way it could print anything. It couldn't even, it would not have been able to do this. This is not anything special. This is just a wrench that I designed in Fusion 360 that I tried to sell it on the internet. It hasn't sold well at all. It's for unlocking solar connectors on MC4 cables, and it has turned into a bit of a bust. There's, you know, we've sold a few. The people that have them absolutely love them, but nobody else is jumping on them, and I'm not that worried about it. I guess it's just it was a product that I thought we sort of needed. I really do need to tweak this a little bit too, because it still could use a little bit of refinement, you know, back at Fusion 360, and try to draw something up a little bit better. This is just a test print. I probably should make a benchy. That's probably the next thing I probably should do, is a benchy, because I tried something round and tall, and what was happening is there was a lot of ghosting, a lot of garbage going on with the layer lines were just not looking good at all. What I'm really worried about is maybe I can't overcome any of this without getting into some kind of cooling fan system on here, because there's just this cooling fan here, all it's doing is pulling air up through here. It's not really doing much to keep everything cool. The heat break even is only getting a little bit of that air coming across, which again, not really, you know, not exactly what you really want in this case. So there's a lot of things wrong here still. The other thing that's wrong is this box is really, really hot, and the guy should have, somebody should have at least put a pretty decent cooling fan in here to blow through the electronics to help keep everything cool, instead of, you know, boxing it all up tight the way he did. There's a few slots here for air, but not a lot. But I think the main issue now would be that cooling, and I think the only way I'm going to get around that is to have to spend a little bit of money. Like I said, I'm trying to keep this on a really dead level budget of spending as little as possible to get it up and running and fixing it. But you know, and I know, you're really banging your head against the wall when you try to do little numbers like that. I probably need to get like the Creality system, where it's a direct drive and it comes straight down through, and that'll change the gantry thing again. But I think it'll give me a better, you know, a solution to a lot of the problems I'm having here, and I might even be able to put the chain drive back on at that point. I did like the chain for cable management on that, but couldn't do it. Printed, I don't know if I had mentioned it before, I did print a little bracket here and relocate the filament runout sensor and put it back up, because I guess it's a nice thing to have. I like the way it sort of sits in the center and directs the filament down, and also has a little green light here to show you that there's filament in there coming through or whatever. So that was kind of an easy no-brainer. There's a number of things still wrong with the printer that I think need to be tweaked, but right now this is probably the best looking print I've seen. And let's face it, that's a long way from, you know, this mess here, where this was our first test print, and you can see it just destroyed the model before it even got to where it's at right now even. So it's every time I make a change, I've noticed it's working better. So I keep heading in the right direction to get this thing to work better for me. Okay, it's been a couple of weeks of working and tweaking on this thing, but we're at the point now where we actually have a printed model. This is just, like I said, a sample, not a big deal. If we lost this even, I wasn't going to be worried about it or anything, but it was just a way to sort of get the basic feel of it. And right along here is one of the places I wanted to look, because it did have ghosting and stuff showing up here a lot, really bad right here, as a matter of fact, on the sides. And now the edges look absolutely, I'm going to say clean, really almost stunningly clean. So great. And the first layer, if you flip it over, you can always see the first layer. And looking at the first layer, I can see that, you know, it wouldn't be obvious to most people, but I can see that it could use a little bit more bed leveling. I haven't quite got it right, but it's close. Now the top is really something else. It shows the heat problem of not having a cooling fan. And what happens is you get kind of that spaghetti thing of each layer as it's going through. If there's any spacing, the layer kind of sags a little bit because there's no heat, you know, there's no cooling there. So it gives it a chance to sag, so then you get that sort of amplified on top here. If I increase the wall thickness, I might be able to bury some of that underneath and make it, you know, maybe hide it or something. But that's, again, not really important. Really, the most important thing right now is just to get this thing where it will actually print something half decent or clean. And it did. It actually, that's the very first time we've had a good part come out of here. So, yay! Now, one problem I do have, and I haven't quite solved it, but I'm working on it, is I had to move this stop switch here because the 4-wheel plate that I'm using to, you know, really make this thing sturdy, the problem is it's running into the wheel back here behind this gantry bar right here. So in order to do that, I'm going to have to probably take a grinder and sort of cut some of that plate away to see if I can get that snugged up. It's not too far off, it's just, it is enough off that it's kind of it's going to be a problem down the road, because the only reason I'm even keeping this printer around is I have some very large prints that I want to make on this build plate if an emergency happens. This really, like I said, it was a backup machine. That was the whole idea, and I wanted to be able to get it to a level where it could be a backup machine that would make a respectable product, and it has not been able to do that until now. It's very, very close to, you know, where it needs to be, kind of thing. Now, there's some really bad things about this that we talked about, I think, in a previous show where I talked about the 20 by 20. The whole thing is that we could use a strut kit here or something to help, you know, make that a little bit more sturdy. But most of the stuff that I'll be printing is low profile, kind of like this idea. So if it will print low profile only and I don't care about what's going on up here, then again, the machine's totally usable. This is running it too hot, don't like it. And I'm still thinking about trying to figure out a way to rig a little cooling fan with a duct off of here or something to blow through to help cool the parts once she gets underway. After she got the first couple layers down, it's nice to have that cooling fan working to help those layers. There's a couple things here too that I noticed that was really good. There's no lifting or anything going on with the plate, which can happen if you've got too much cooling going on. The PLA in this case, if it cools too fast, it can kind of create a lifting situation this way. And this little plate right here did not lift whatsoever. It never moved. So that part there was kind of like, you know, it might be okay not to have a cooling fan right now. We might be able to get away with something. The next thing I'll do is notch this metal back here. And in fact, I'll bring the camera over here and I'll just show you the wheel and where it's contacting, and here's where the problem's at. But right here is where I've got the stop switch right now for now, because that's where it hits the wheel. But if I chunk the corner of the metal out here, I think we can get in past the wheel enough that we can use most of the 300 plus millimeter build plate. 315, and if I can only use less than 300, that's fine. You know, I can live with that even. But I've got to have close to 300 for this particular product situation. So, looking good. Everything else about it is, like I say, it's really a cheap, crappy printer. I have no idea what manufacturer made this crazy thing, but and I don't know what's happened to it over time, because this bracket doesn't really seem to conform with what's on here. So I think that at some point they had changed things around, and maybe this was some kind of upgrade idea that they had put on there. But whoever's been working on this thing previous to me was just getting themselves into a corner and making things worse and worse and worse by the looks of it. I had to redo the belt a little bit, but I've got it fixed now where the belt is, you know, can be adjusted and nice and tight. So it plays the same with this one. This one needed a little bit of tweaking, but working great now. Real happy with that. The other problem I do have here is this cable here. This is off the heat bed, and this cable, you don't really want it flexing a lot, but you sort of want it to follow back and forth on a nice arc, and it doesn't do that because of the way it was built. So I've had some issues with that, and I'm still sort of like, you know, working on that problem. And also the wheels. All these wheels, even here, like for example, this wheel right here spins. It's not even making contact, and the reason for that is there's no adjustment, there's no cam. Okay, I just took the paper away, but what I did here was I just used the Dremel tool to cut the excess metal off the plate back here that I don't need, that has no bearing on anything. So now we're going to take the stop, the bracket back here, move the stop again. Yeah, I sort of don't like these nuts, but yeah, they come with a lot of 3D printers, or they were. I really don't care for them. Yeah. Now we're going to bring this back over here, and we're still hitting something. Okay, we're hitting about there. So let's see how the stop switch looks now that I've totally taken it off. Okay, so we'll come back up to here. Tighten the mechanics on the stop switch again. Yeah, we've definitely gained a little bit. There we go. Hopefully. Yep. So how's that look now? Okay, she's just on the edge of the plate now. So, yeah, this is really weird. But in order to check this to see where it's at, I'm going to do a bed leveling and go to the center. And when it thinks it's the center, it will show me where it thinks it's the center, and I will be able to see how far off this is. But we're also hitting the plate here as well, so I might have to take the Dremel tool and even get rid of some of that plate. Yeah, oh wow, yeah, it's just, I guess the other thing I could have done was gone with a 3-wheel conversion, but that would have been hanging this way to support this, and yeah, this is nice and sturdy. I really like that, so I'm going to try to stay with that. So let's find out and see what we've got. I'm going to send it to the center, and we'll see where it thinks it's center. And I'll show you how I'm telling. Yeah. So what I've done is basically gone through bed leveling and told to go to center, and you can see here's center, and here's your level, and you can see I'm about, so we're about 25 to 30 millimeters off. But here's the thing, this plate is about 30 millimeters in total wider than the LK5 Pro, which is the program I'm going to be running with. So technically, even though it's off center, we should be okay for making the big parts that I want to deal with for the time being. I don't think I'm going to cut or modify this thing anymore because it doesn't look like I'm going to gain much without some kind of major changes. So yeah, we're going to call it a day on that one. And it was, by the way, when I cut it, I didn't use the Dremel. I actually used the Depth rotary tool. So yeah, no, I call it a Dremel. Oops, yeah. It's kind of like Kleenex's, you know, yeah, Kleenex, whatever. But Depth makes a really nice rotary. So just thought of something here. Let's just take a quick look. Yep, I've been meaning to get back to this, and let's just see if it's here. I think, yeah, we've still got it here. Yep, there it is. This is the Depth rotary tool, or at least the latest one they have out right now. This is the P1S that looks, or P1P. It sounds just like the Bamboo Lab 3D printer for some reason. This is the P1P. I think we need to give this thing away. So let's set up a draw for this thing, and we can ship it out to somebody. How's that sound? Yay! Yeah, the Depth P1P rotary tool. Really a nice functional. It's rechargeable. It comes with a little USB cable and stuff, and some tools, of course, so you can grind and polish and do whatever you need to do with a small rotary tool. So this has been laying around. We need to get this back in the box and get it out of here. So let's set up for, yeah, let's set up for a draw. Yeah, so how do we do this? Okay, well, we're going to have you email us at ctrewards@gmx.com. 1 entry per household. And in the subject line of the email, we'll call this one rotary. Sounds like an easy word to use. And in the body of the letter, all you need is just your name and address, and we'll make up tickets out of that, and we'll draw, and sometime the next week or so we will draw for the Depth tool and give it away to a viewer. So if you sat through all this other jazz, you might be able to win yourself the Depth rotary tool. Yes, the P1P. Thank you for watching Coffee and Tools. Please like, share, subscribe, ring the notice bell. I'm out of here. Over and out.